The New York Mets are about to face the best team in baseball as the Los Angeles Dodgers come into town. On the show today, not only will I preview this upcoming series, but I'm also going to talk about why the Dodgers make the NL East race so much more important because whoever wins the NL East avoids facing the Dodgers until the NLCS.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Now, there is a clear motivation for the Mets to win the division this year. Obviously, you want to make the playoffs higher you can get in, but by winning the division, you avoid the wild card round because right now, the way things are slated, the two top seeds are going to be the Dodgers as the 1 seed, and then the winner of the NL East as the 2 seed, and they get a bye in that first round. But I was curious how the seeding really does break down. Could the Mets face off against the Braves in the NLDS? That would be the ultimate divisional series matchup, right? Whoever loses the division survives the wild card round, and then these two teams meet head to head. That's not going to happen though. So I looked at the way the bracket is going to be formed here, and that made it even more clear why the Mets have to win this division, because you are talking about a massive advantage that goes beyond just simply avoiding the wild card round. It's about avoiding the Dodgers, okay? Because the way things shake out, top 2 seeds are going to avoid each other until the NLCS, right? They both get byes. They're not going to face each other in the NLDS round. But here is how it really does break down. You have the number 1, number 2 seeds, as I just outlined. The number 3 seed right now looks to be the Cardinals because they're running with that NL Central. And despite the fact that a team like the Braves has a better record than the Cardinals, they will not be seeded higher in the wild card round. The Braves would be the 4 seed. Then you have the 5th seed, the second best wild card team, and the 6th seed, the third best wild card team. Right now, it would be the Phillies as the 5th seed, the Padres as the 6th seed. So then you get into the wild card round, and the wild card round will be played 3 consecutive days, and it'll all be played in one ballpark, whoever is hosting. So if the Mets were a wild card team, they would host the Phillies, theoretically, depending on how everything were to shake out. But if things held true, but the Braves edged out the Mets in the division, it would be Mets versus Phillies at home, which you feel pretty good about. But then if the Mets win that series, they'd have to face the Dodgers. The other series will be Cardinals versus, right now, presumably the Padres, maybe the Brewers make it into that conversation. And then the winner of that series would face the winner of the NL East. So this is where things get really important to kind of understand the distinction. How would the playoffs shape out differently in each of these scenarios? Scenario 1, if the Mets were to win the division, now you're chilling, okay? You got the time to rest. You can, set up your rotation how you like it. You don't have to worry about anything. In the other instance, let's just say the Mets are a wild card team. You go into that first series. Wild card round starts on October 7th through the 9th. So let's just say Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer take care of business, right? And that's the most ideal of a wild card round. They win the first 2 games. All right, you're good. Well, then you go up against the Dodgers, and best case scenario, you're only going to see deGrom and Scherzer one time in that series. It would be Bassett game 1, deGrom game 2, day off for the third of that series. The series would begin on October 11th. You get a day off on the 13th, and then you play the final 3 games consecutively. There used to maybe be a travel day because the series would play out, 2 games at one ballpark, 2 games at the other. The final game returns to the home field advantage park. Now there's no travel day. So let's just say the Mets are playing the Cardinals, so to speak, in that division series. they would spend 2 games at Citi Field, 2 games in St. Louis, and then hop on a bird, fly back to New York without a travel day in between to finish off that series. So in the scenario where the Mets win the division, all fine and well. If you lose the division, have to go through the wild card round, you're maybe facing off against this Dodgers team that's been a juggernaut, where Chris Bassett is suddenly starting game 1 and game 5 of that series, as opposed to Jacob deGrom. That is a massive difference for the New York Mets. And obviously, you just want to avoid the crapshoot of a wild card round altogether anyway, because no one wants to go into a 3-game format and run the risk of dropping game 1. Suddenly, you have to win back-to-back games or your season is over. That is the brutality of the wild card round. The fact that you can have an incredible regular season and it all can be over at an instant. That's the playoffs in general, but you have to try to secure the best possible seeding. And to be able to avoid the Dodgers, that is something that I don't think we've really thought about too much. We've thought about it under the context of getting that bye. Obviously, just the reward of winning the division is something to behold in of itself, particularly with this Mets franchise. But the prospect of avoiding the Dodgers, having more of an easy road where you would only have to face either the Dodgers or the Braves in the playoffs in the NLCS to get to a potential World Series, that is obviously a lot to put on the players' shoulders right now. They have to get this done because that could be all the difference in the world when it comes to the Mets' success come October. But I want to talk about this a little bit more as it relates to the type of team the Dodgers are. And we're going to preview this weekend or this week's series against the best team in baseball. Before we get to that, though, as you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. And LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. There you can create a free job post in minutes and reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then you can add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring, so your network can help you find the right people to hire with simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Now, again, if the playoffs were to begin today, the seeding is pretty simple. It'd be Dodgers as the 1 seed, Mets as the 2 seed, Cardinals as the 3, Braves as the 4, Phillies as the 5, Padres as the 6. Then you would end up in a situation where it'd be Phillies versus Braves in that wild card round, where Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola could potentially remove one of the biggest obstacles in the Mets' way when it comes to getting to a World Series right there. The Phillies were to shock us all and win a wild card round. There you go, no more Braves. That is how crazy that round is going to get. When it comes to Padres Cardinals, we'll see who would make it out of that matchup. As it relates to the Mets, it's clear which team they would most want to play, right? This season, they are 2-2 against the Dodgers. We'll see how they fare in this upcoming series. They are 5-2 against the Cardinals and 2-4 against the Padres. So the Cardinals are maybe the team they'd most want to see based on what we've watched this season. I think the Padres might be the worst team of the potential ones the Mets could match up with in that first round. But you want to avoid the Dodgers at all costs. And, the Braves, they're 2-4 this year against the Dodgers, 4-3 against the Cardinals, 3-4 against the Padres. But this Dodgers team is a juggernaut. I mean, since July, they're 41-10 over a 51 game span. Now they're playing right now against the Marlins. As I record, it's the bottom of the 7th here at about 9 o'clock at night, 2-2. We'll see if they end up beating the Marlins and improving that to 42-10 since July. But what's crazy is if you look at the breakdown of the team pitching and the team batting stats, they're the best on both fronts. They've allowed 134 earned runs since July 1st. It's 27 better than the Mets, who are in second. And when it comes to total runs allowed, they've allowed 21 less runs than the Mets. The Mets have allowed 171 runs. The Dodgers 150. Incredible, especially because they've more than doubled that offensively. They've scored 304 runs, 25 more than the Braves, who have the second best offense in baseball. The differential there is 154 in 51 games played. So the breakdown of that is what, over 3 runs? That's what they're beating teams by on average. They're winning by more than 3 runs a game. You've seen what the Mets have done recently, and they're not winning by that wide margin every night. This Dodgers team just finds a way year after year. Suddenly, they got Trace Thompson, Clay Thompson's brother, who over the last 9 games is an OPS over 1,000. Mookie Betts is the quietest MVP candidate you'll ever see. Over his last 12 games, he has 5 home runs, 4 doubles, a triple, OPS over 1,000. I mean, they just continue to turn over talent year over year. And right now, we're looking at this National League, and I think everyone kind of agrees there's been some tiers that have been established. There's the Dodgers, Mets, Braves tier, and then there's kind of everyone else where you have the Cardinals maybe slightly ahead of the Phillies, but those two teams are kind of comparable with the Padres hanging around the periphery. And then the Brewers are still in the playoff picture, but falling out of it, it seems like every single week. It comes down to the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Braves as the real class of this league. The Braves since July have been the second best offense. The Mets since July have had the second best pitching staff, but the Dodgers have the best of both worlds. And that's what makes them absolutely terrifying to face, not only in this upcoming series, but in a playoff series. Because again, in a 5-game set, if you don't win the division and you face the Dodgers in the wild card round, well, like I said, now it's maybe Bassett, DeGrom, Scherzer, Taijuan Walker, Carrasco, whoever you want that 4 starter to be, and then Chris Bassett again. Or even worse, if it takes all 3 starters, let's say it takes Jacob DeGrom, Max Scherzer, and Chris Bassett to get through that wild card round, well, suddenly it's, I don't even know who starts game 1. Is it Taijuan Walker? Is it Carlos Carrasco? Is it David Peterson? I don't know, but one of those guys would have to take the ball game 1, and then you go to DeGrom, and then you'd be able to go to Scherzer, and then probably to Bassett. But then you're closing out a series likely with whoever that 4th starter is. Obviously, I think you'd get a DeGrom and a Scherzer out of the bullpen. It'd be all hands on deck. If the Mets are in that situation, I think they could beat the Dodgers, but you have a much better chance taking a full crack at the Dodgers as the other team that got the bye that could continue to set up your pitching the way you want it. So you go into a 7-game series potentially against the Dodgers in the NLCS and you're fresh, or the Braves do that hard work for you and you're showing down with your NL East rival, which would probably be the most agonizingly exciting series we could imagine. These two teams, Mets, Braves, battling through a full 162 and then potentially meeting up in the championship round. That would be something that I think fans would love and also collectively dread. But it's going to be a tough road to hoe no matter what happens. It just gets a lot harder if you don't secure the division. And this really is going to be the last huge test the Mets have before they face the Braves again at the end of September. 3 games against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'll talk about them in just a minute. But first, a word from our sponsors. If you look at the pitching problems for the Mets' upcoming series against the Dodgers, it's pretty clear that their analytics department likes the matchup of going at this Mets team with left-handed pitching. They got Andrew Heaney going in game 1 against Taijuan Walker. Heaney's got a 1.94 ERA this season, so they're getting one lefty out there against the Mets. He made his last start against the Brewers on the 24th, pitched 6 innings, allowed 2 earned runs. Before that, he went 4 2/3 against the Brewers as well, gave up 3 earned runs. He has been consistently in their rotation since August. Other than that, only had made 4 starts prior to the calendar turning. And in the month of August, he has a 3.22 ERA across 5 starts and overall has not been going super deep in games. This last start where he went the 6 innings, that was the only time that he made it out of 5 all month, and the first time since June 19th. But again, it comes down to lefties. Game 2, Tyler Anderson versus Jacob deGrom. Anderson 2.69 ERA of the season, deGrom 2.15. The Mets have the edge clearly with the GOAT on the hill. And I think you like Taijuan Walker with the way he threw the ball last time, getting a chance against a really good Dodgers team to kind of improve himself. And we kind of talked in the last segment, in the first segment, about a potential matchup with the Dodgers in the playoffs and who would grab the ball for that game 4 on the show yesterday. I made a little bit of a case for a David Peterson, although I don't think the Mets necessarily would put him above a veteran when it comes to the playoffs. I don't know if they would say Taijuan Walker should get the nod because he's had maybe the best collective season start to finish, or if they would look at Carlos Carrasco with his veteran experience, or who knows, maybe the analytics department would come back and say that the best move would be to get the lefty of Peterson out there, make things a little bit harder on Freddie Freeman, not necessarily harder on Mookie Betts or Trey Turner, who are both great. I don't know if we call both of the MVP caliber players, but certainly top 20 players in baseball, and both of them hit from the right side. Final game of the series, it could be the return of Clayton Kershaw off the IL, and that is why they are TBD right now when it comes to their starting pitcher. Chris Bassett will take the ball for the Mets. Meanwhile, you have the Braves, and they're playing, is it the Phillies right now? No, the Rockies. They're the Rockies. And then they play the Marlins. This is the stretch. Okay, they're going to play the Phillies a bunch. That is not this week. That is coming on September 16th. They'll begin a stretch where they will play 7 of 10 against the Phillies. Right now, they are entering a cakewalk part of their schedule. They got 3 against the Rockies, 3 against the Marlins, 2 against the Athletics before they have to go to Seattle and play 3 against the Mariners. The one thing I will say, although the Athletics are part of what would be an 8-game stretch where the Braves should be able to pick up a lot of games, is that is on the West Coast, part of a trip where they have to face, not only Oakland, but Seattle, and then the Giants. Even the Giants haven't been playing great baseball lately either. Better for all those games to take place away. Maybe with the travel and everything, the Braves can get caught up a little bit before they return home to face the Phillies, and then a lot of divisional play for them to close out the season. The Mets got this big series. There's still one against the Brewers, I believe, and then it comes down to the Braves at the end of the year. Other than that, they got the cakewalk of a schedule as well. Do they have the Brewers? They do have the Brewers. That is middle of September. Regardless, though, big series, measuring stick at home, chance to win the season series even over the Dodgers. Right now, it's all tied up. So you win this series, you win the season series, and you go into the playoffs with a little bit extra confidence if you do eventually match up with this juggernaut. Anyway, that's going to be all for today's edition of Locked On Mets. On tomorrow's show, obviously breaking down whatever happens in this game. Maybe we'll spotlight a Mark Canha as well. He has been very good over the last couple of weeks. So I might want to dive into what's been behind his recent success. Make sure you follow, rate, and review so you don't miss any episodes of Locked On Mets. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB, hosted by Paul Francis Sullivan. Locked On MLB is where you want to go to stay up to date with everything going on in Major League Baseball. You can follow Locked On MLB wherever you get podcasts.